New polls show that nearly 75% of Americans say the country is heading in the wrong direction. But more importantly to Nomad Capitalists, nearly 3 in 5 say our best days may be behind us. I'm going to tell you the facts of what people are saying and why this is so important. This is an article from the Daily Mail, and there's a whole bunch of polls I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's important that people in the Western world, in this case the United States, see their best days as behind them. Nearly 75%, says the Daily Mail, of Americans think the U.S. is headed in the wrong direction under Joe Biden, and more than half worry the country's best years are in the past, according to a new poll from NBC. So let's get into this. If it's your first time here, I'm Andrew Henderson, founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors, also known in the United States as the evil rich, legally reduce their taxes, diversify and protect their assets, get a second passport, make sure they have places to go to be safe in a changing and chaotic world. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Here are the subheadlines. 74% of Americans said the United States is on the wrong track in a new poll. More than half of the 1,000 respondents said our best years may be behind us. Their main concerns, the economy. 68% said they think the country's already in a recession. And 55% disapprove of the job that Biden is doing. His approval numbers have been going up. And by the way, here at Nomad Capitalist, we're not playing the political game. There are wealthy people whose taxes went up under Trump, their overall tax burden. There are folks who really didn't get much of a tax cut under Bush. If you want to reduce your taxes, the example isn't voting for some Republican who's going to lower the top tax rate by 3%. That's not solving your problems. Just as the way to do it isn't moving from New Jersey to Florida. Right? We're seeing sites like California getting increasingly desperate and talking about even rolling out retroactive taxes. That's one of the big things I do think will be coming down. And we're seeing retroactive as a buzzword in more and more countries around the world. But just moving to Florida and saving yourself a few percentage points, if you're going to move, if you're going to try and reduce your taxes, just go where you're treated best. From the Cayman Islands to Dubai to Singapore to dozens of other tax-friendly countries, that's where you can go. So from my perspective, I don't jump on Joe Biden's the worst guy ever. Hey, listen, I'm sure I don't agree with many of his policies. Maybe you do, maybe you don't with some of them. But that's not really the issue. The issue is the country and the culture. But here's what it says. Nearly 3/4 of Americans think the U.S. is heading in the wrong direction. Despite grappling with low favorability ratings for much of his first term already, Biden's popularity experienced a deep downturn and growing pessimism over the economy. Let's go through the numbers, okay? I don't care about its approval ratings. Is the United States heading in the wrong direction? 74%. The right direction, 21%. Some of the worst numbers in the Western world. Do you approve of his handling of the economy? 56% don't approve. Again, not necessarily applicable to us if you're just picking from the buffet of 252 countries and territories. Is the country in a recession? 68% says yes. Interesting, by the way, it shows the fracture between the people and the media and how, like, the media narrative, from what I can kind of see, is, no, everything's great, there's no recession. Well, the people, not that the people are economists or experts on much of anything, but the people, 68% said, yes, we're in a recession. And so people don't trust their society anymore. There used to be a time when you lived in the United States, like, this is the best place. People still say that, but the trust is gone. The trust in the media, the trust in the institutions, the trust in everything in the country is gone. How does that make it still the best place? To me, the best place, the best relationship is one based on trust. Once the trust is gone, it's over. And yet people are still clinging on. How will the Inflation Reduction Act affect your life? Yeah, basically a third won't make a difference, will make things worse, will make things better. Hey, you don't have to stick around for the tax hikes. You don't have to stick around for the audits. You can go where you're treated best. People are looking at record high inflation, but here's the big number. Here's the big number that I saw in this article. 58% of people in the United States says we're worried our best years was the phrase used, are behind us, compared to, I think, 35% said, no, our best years are in front of us. Now, here's my perspective on this. Once people are down, it almost becomes like that, like the caged tiger, the cornered wild animal. People are down. You never know what the people are going to do next. And this is not to say people don't have real concerns. I'm not here to minimize that and to minimize the concerns people have. What I do believe is, even if you're not a 7- or 8-figure entrepreneur or investor, it is easier than ever for you to pick up and move somewhere else. More and more people are working remotely. More and more people, especially in the United States, have the opportunity to get work, to get freelance work, to start companies, to do whatever it takes to create jobs. You know what's changed in the years that I've been alive? We have clients who come to us, and I've told you this, Egypt, Morocco, Brazil, Colombia, Thailand, people from those countries Oh, thank goodness I'm not from one of those countries. Oh yeah? Well, they've created multi-million-dollar businesses. Some of these guys are like 22 years old. Had a guy recently from Eastern Europe. Guy's making $3 million a year at like 22 or 23 years old. Started it from scratch in his country, and now he's saying, hey, I don't know why your Western clients stick around so long. We know our government's wasting our money here, and so I'm getting out with my $3 million a year. He did it, so why is it more people in the United States can't do it? You have the opportunities. Surely, if your education system's better, if everything's better in the United States, you have the opportunity. You could do what that guy does. If you did 1/10 of what that guy does, you'd have total reign to move anywhere in the world that you wanted. So we're talking to 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs, but anyone who's concerned with the direction the U.S. is going, you can get a residence permit in Mexico, you can move to Ecuador, you can move to Costa Rica, you can move to Georgia. There's plenty of places you can go, take your work with you, or build something online, and you don't have to stick around for the country going the wrong direction. But if you are the 7- or 8-figure entrepreneur, the people who are struggling, who choose not to heed my wise advice, are going to do a bunch of things. They're going to be the caged tiger, and what are they going to do? All the things we've talked about, all the things that you are now seeing. Hey, you know what? Let's cancel student loan debt. Forget the fact that university tuition has been spiraling out of control for as long as any of us have been paying attention. Forget the fact that the endless money supply causes it to do that. You know what? Let's just go through and solve the symptom, not the cause. $10,000, and yeah, you're paying for it. Average taxpayer, $2,000. You think they're going to stop there? Look at the record deficits run during the pandemic. Multiple of what it cost to win World War II just to fight COVID. They are spending money left and right, and people increasingly support this. Just send me my check, send me my UBI, cancel my student loans. Everything's all right. And I'm not saying, listen, we can argue what's all right or what's not all right, but what I understand is if you're a successful person, Joe Biden put a number on it. If you make more than $400,000 a year, you're bad. You're going to have to pay more. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, you're a tax cheat. Literally, by definition, the fact that you have wealth, you must be a tax cheat, even though people in North America, on a global scale, some of the most honest people on their taxes in the world, but you're a tax cheat. And so I've always told the example, Steve Bannon, guy worked for Donald Trump, and he said, we built with our policies over the last couple of decades, we've built a middle class in Asia, and we've hollowed out the middle class here. Now, you can like the policies, you can not like the policies, but that's where we are now. Successful entrepreneurs acknowledge the reality, okay? I think too many of the people who watch this channel are sitting around mired in misery of like, well, there's nowhere to go, and listen, there's always somewhere to go. There's always a bull market somewhere. There's always a place that's more free. There's always a way to improve your life. Sitting around and making excuses for why you don't do anything isn't the answer. And so here's where we are. We have a situation. You're going to start a business. You're going to build your business. You're going to build your wealth. This is the playing field, okay? You have the middle class stagnant in Western countries like the United States, and it's growing in other places. Do you think those people in those countries think their country's heading the wrong direction? Do you think that they think their best years are behind them? No. But the challenge is in a country like the United States, you have politicians who say, where are you going to go? Now, do you think a politician who says, where are you going to go, is going to take the advice of how to improve things? You say whatever you want about a place like the UAE. You know what they did? They get people from all over the world to come together who've done great things, from countries that have worked and said, hey, what works? And we're going to basically build that from scratch. People call it a fake place. And maybe it's not the place that you want to live. But I have to respect the fact that it's like, let's get some consensus from people who've done this and done it well to grow, rather than hiring the same retread idiots. I mean, look at what it costs to build a mile of a train track in California these days with all the consultants and all the so-called experts. Nothing ever gets done. And so do you want to live in that country? Do you want to foot that bill? Do you want to pay for the overpriced railroads to nowhere? Do you want to pay for everyone's student loan? Do you want to pay for everything else that comes down the track from when people realize their country's heading in the wrong direction? Or do you want to go to a country where it's headed in the right direction? I can tell you for one thing, by the way, there's just a different feeling when you step out in the country in Asia, for example, where people know things are in the right direction. There's an energy that's there, and it's exciting to be a part of. And when I first moved to Asia, I was excited just to watch this growth. Now, if you really wanted to watch emerging market growth, you'd move to Africa. But if you want more of the lifestyle components while still watching an economy on the move, when you want skyscrapers at every corner going up, when you want things being changed from old world to new, you go to a place like Asia, right? So you can find places where people realize their best days are ahead of them. And to do that, you have to start with the understanding of your country is where it is. You may like it, you may not agree with the policies. You just have to accept the reality. Okay? And so the problem when you have people who feel we're going the wrong direction or countries in the wrong direction, they want to change the policies. And what we've seen in the Western world, again, raise taxes, add wealth taxes, add retroactive taxes, unrealized capital gains taxes. It's the wealthy's fault. No, it's the government's fault for not running competitive economies that, unlike smaller countries like Uruguay and Georgia and Malaysia and other, some of the countries we talk about and more, even more socialistic European countries like Portugal and even Italy and even Greece are like, hey, you know what, come here and we won't tax you very much, right? They're realizing, holy cow, we got to do something if we want to get some people in this joint, right? Italy, there's some places in Sardinia, they're paying you to move there now if you just buy a little property and renovate it. We need people. Is the United States doing that? No, it's more difficult than ever. Everything's difficult. We need to charge people more in taxes. And so that's the progression when the country heads in the wrong direction and the best years are behind it. Why not go to places? Listen, I think Italy's best years are probably behind it as well. But at least you can live there and see the golden years pass before your eyes with 90% lower taxes if you live in the South. And they'll pay you 15,000 euros to renovate a house if you buy one. Not saying it's not bureaucratic, not saying it's not going to cost you something, not saying it's the easiest thing to do, but hey, they have plenty of tax incentive these days in Italy. You could go to Asia and make your life even easier, and you could watch a place that is emerging. You could go to other places in Eastern Europe and Latin America. And so why not look at least having a residence permit in one of those countries where things are heading in the right direction? Maybe you're an American and maybe you want to have that EU passport. By the way, there's some EU countries that are doing better than others, for sure. I think Ireland, definitely a place that's moving in the right direction in terms of the population numbers. I mean, wages have been going through the roof. It's expensive. It's a place that maybe is compatible for a lot of Americans and others. So if you want that EU passport, fine. Maybe you don't accept that maybe you accept that, okay, this country's best days are behind it as well. Have a residence permit or get a citizenship somewhere where they're moving in the right direction. Have a flag planted somewhere. Certainly have some of your assets there, right? Because look at countries like Poland, Cyprus, other Western countries where, let's just take some of your pension funds. Let's just bail in your bank account. Australia, they're making plans to, or at least be prepared to do that, right? And so if your country's prepared to do things that take your money, take away your freedom, its best days aren't in front of it. Why not at least have access to a place? Get a residence permit in Asia, Thailand, Malaysia. They'll offer you a residence permit. Put some money there. You get some diversification. You can do that. Latin America, just prove your income, get a residence permit. Go to a place where people's best days are ahead of them. And I promise you'll see the difference. You'll see the energy. It's probably going to be infectious on you, which is why people we help move to more forward-thinking countries end up increasing their income. Not just the percentage they keep by lowering their taxes, but they end up increasing their income because there's an energy that comes with it. There's an energy from things are moving in the right direction. That's why go where you're treated best is so important. It's partially psychological, it's partially defensive, and it's partially offensive.